Hi, my name is Hannah Schultz, and I'm an AP Studio Art student with a 3D concentration. I'd like to share a little bit about the role that art has played in my life. Art has been something that's always been a part of me since I was little. I can remember from elementary school loving to go to art class as one of our specials during the day. And once I got to come to high school, I managed to fill my schedule with every art class I could possibly take. I started my freshman year with a pottery class. I figured throwing on the wheel sounded pretty cool, so why not? I didn't really know that I was actually going to end up here my senior year. After my first semester of pottery, I was put into pottery 2 without even really realizing it, and I found that with each project I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed working with those around me, bouncing off ideas between each other, and finishing projects. It was just this gradual process of finding enjoyment and having a stress-free environment where I could have no worries about tests or college applications or when the next essay would be due. Being an artist is when you come to terms with who you are as a person and when you have the chance to investigate what makes you you. And it's when you can have these moments of time with yourself and your materials that you can express yourself and you can convey a message and really connect with your audience. My favorite thing about art is when I have someone that can look at my pieces with me and share a smile or share a laugh. It's these little moments and connections that I can make with the audience through my work that make it all worth the while. There's never really a definite process when I'm working on a project. I usually do start with a sketchbook. Sketching is so important. It's when you really start to formulate your ideas, and I think the hardest thing about AP Studio Art is getting your ideas out of your head and onto a paper, and making sure my sketches convey the exact concept and how I want it to be. So it's a constant battle of trying to formulate your words to encapsulate sort of this nebulous abstract concept as an artist. I like to focus on things that are more positive in life. I think a lot of the art that I see in galleries or big shows, a lot of them have heavy topics, and not to discredit them, but I find that I enjoy my art when it lightens the mood and it lightens others. Because I feel that our society has become something that is filled with stressful schedules and consistent deadlines and standards that we hold ourselves and others to. I like to not only find an escape for me, but an escape for my audience through my work. My favorite piece to make this year was my first project. I ended up titling it Waiting for a Catch. I basically set up 2 different layers to the scene, and I made the separation of the layers with a book that I had found at our local library sale on Wednesday. The book had this really cool compass on it, and when I opened the book up to the middle pages, there was this beautiful illustration of an ocean. I got to thinking about this idea of an ocean and eventually came up with this idea of having a fisherman. When I was little, I used to read a Dr. Seuss book called McElligot's Pool. I can't exactly remember the storyline, but the one thing that I can remember was this one picture of this fisherman on the water, and he has his hook in the pond, and there's this great illustration of the fish all over the pages, and all the fish are just surrounding this one little hook. All the fish were all staring at it, so McElligott thinks that he'll never catch a fish. So I threw a little spin on this, and what I decided to do was to hand build the fish from clay. I started with a clay base, and then I fired it once, and I used underglazes so that they wouldn't run into each other. And I accentuated the scales by dotting them with individual colors. I then was able to drill a hole through the book with the help of one of the teachers at BHS. We used epoxy glue and metal rods to create the stand for the book to lay on. I was even able to find a few of my decorations from last year's prom, like the little pebbles that I used on the bottom part of the pond and the hanging moss. I made the small little fisherman out of clay, and I was able to find a hat off of one of my bath toys from when I was little, and I put it onto his head. If you look carefully on the boat, I made the boat and a lighthouse out of cardboard and paper to make the boat and lighthouse look as though they were made from the storybook pages. I had taken these pages from an art book, so they had various words on them that really went well with my piece, so I decided to highlight them. And if you look closely, there's words like fancy hats and imagination. I would definitely say the greatest thing about my projects is taking mixed media and putting it into one piece. There's so many different connections and procedures I had to go with to make this piece. I met different people, I searched through different corners of my house, and when you do it, it's like an adventure. It's more than just pieces of material glued and drilled and shaped into a form. It's bigger than that. Once I get to look for my materials, I find those around me, like my friends and my family, sort of get used to this artistic side of me more and more. And I have people coming up to me with random materials and different things like cardboard, boxes, and plastic parts that I could potentially use in projects. And I think by asking and starting this conversation, it really gets other people involved in the process. It's a part of creativity, which is really cool. Moving forward, I'm looking to carry my art education over into my college education. I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to end up, but I do have an interest in architecture. I like the idea of carrying over this three-dimensional work into a real-life application. I'm not really sure what's in store for me, but I'm excited to see where art is going to take me next.